Wasteful.
All right, it gives me great pleasure. My next guest on the HQ, would you welcome, please, the one, the only, the incredible, the legend, Gary Barlow, everybody!
Lovely. Thank you, studio audience.
We put that in post. Honestly, genuinely, thank you so
mate,
much.
It's lovely. Look, I mean, we've brushed shoulders for years and years, and no, it's a pleasure. And also, just so you know, I know what it's like to be asking people to do. So you feel like a pain, but I'd have said no if I didn't want to.
I appreciate that.
I'm happy to be here. So,
and you were always, as I said to you on the email, you were always my number one guest to go to, right, to have on the show. And then when you guys announced you were performing in Malahide Castle, I mean, I don't know what that's like for you, Gary, but it's the concerts that happen in the castle that I don't go to. I sit in the back garden
and listen
to it.
Wow.
So it's literally a 4-minute walk from
I'll
here.
make sure we're loud enough then so you can sit here. Yeah.
Well, listen, so you boys, I mean, it goes without saying, dominated. For me as a kid, dominated in the 90s. I'm 45, you're 53. So I was probably 10, 11, 12 when you boys were starting, let's say. And I want to show you a clip, right? Because you won't know this, but I'm going to take you back behind you there.
Okay.
Top of the Pops.
Oh, my goodness.
1994.
Well, there's a top.
Everything changes. That's some six-pack in that top as well, guys, by the way. But this particular clip, right? I remember. Have you got audio there as well? Like you're having.
That's Everything Changes, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I remember watching this. Right, I was in my girlfriend, now wife's house.
Yeah.
So we're together that long, and I remember my dad was in the music industry in Ireland, right? He was a cabaret singer. He's passed away now, but so music was always in my life, even though sport. But this was about, I'm going to say, 3 months before I signed for Leeds United. So football was my thing, right? But I loved boy bands. I have an older sister. She loved Bros. She loved New Kids. She loved you guys. I remember sitting watching this and going, the routines, the fun they're having, they must have fame, they must have money, they must have everything. There it is, look at the kind of break dance in the middle. And I think genuinely, guys, that's probably when I walked away going, even though I was about to play pro football, I want to be in a boy band. And
you're right, it was all those things. Definitely. Well, absolutely was.
Were you having as much fun as it looks?
So that's 93, that is. Absolutely. That was, we'd come out of the, fighting to try and be noticed, trying to get a record deal. We'd done all that. We'd sold some albums. It was like the good times had arrived.
Right.
We were in control, not the label, us.
Yeah.
And it was that was the sort of 93, 94, 95. They were like the real happiest years, I think, for us. The pressure was off. We were doing our own thing, just going around the world, playing gigs. It was all of that, what you imagined.
So what I imagined is what it was. So then years and years later, when it happened for Westlife, and then we did 12 years before we split, then we were away for 7, 8, and then we came back. I often wondered, and put this question to you, I often wondered, when I look at that, the Backstreet Boys and Sync, Boyzone, ourselves, Westlife, Blue, Five, One Direction, many more, maybe even the Spice Girls.
Yeah.
The formula was there, and I often wonder. I know you're going to think I'm blowing smoke here. You bring it back to a little boy playing a Casio keyboard in Frodsham because it pretty much all started out of that. And do you ever take that in? And I know you're too humble to go yes, but that is true.
Well, you know what? I have to mention someone else here because I know you had a very a poignant manager. Is that the right word? I'm trying to phrase this so I don't get into trouble. But you had a very strong, a well-known manager, and we did too.
Yeah.
We had he was present always.
Right.
He was known within the industry, even in newspapers and things. He was the known sort of Svengali character. And I know you had that too. And I have to say, I have to give a lot of credit to like just simple things like we're talking of a different time here as well, because we didn't have phones with all the access we have now. We're in a time where we in order to get fans, we used to have this yellow box box, right, that went in the boot of the van, and we'd take it and we'd sit it on the side of the stage, and we'd run out and do our first song. And as we run out, we'd throw these tickets into the audience, and what you had to do was fill your name and address and put it in the yellow box, and we'd keep referencing this yellow box, and that was us making a database,
right, okay,
of an audience. So when we went to RCA Records and got signed, we had 500,000 names on this database. Now, just think about that for a second. That's not someone just putting something up on YouTube and hoping for likes.
Yeah.
That's people driving vans, going on stage, asking audiences to put your names in a box. It was an unbelievable idea, and of course all the labels then did that. It was just standard there. So he created a lot of those.
Was that Nigel's idea?
Nigel's idea, yeah.
Wow.
So a lot of those blueprint things you just talked about, all the managers then adopted that and did their own versions of it.
Because I always remember Louis saying to me many years later, he wanted to put an Irish Take That together when he was forming Boyzone, and had the lads outside your shows in Dublin handing out Boyzone flyers.
Right.
You know, to try and, steal your audience.
It's the same thing. It's almost the, I always think of them, I know they're managers and they're clever, but they're salesmen.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, car salesman type people, where they see an opening and it's an opportunity, and that's what managers are, right? As well as being clever and doing strategies and things like that. They're kind of salesmen. They're selling what you do.
Right.
And Nigel came up with an awful lot of that stuff, like going places like Asia, but no one would even go there. That was our second country we broke in.
In Asia?
In Asia. Okay. Yeah, went to Japan. Japan was almost like our second home at one point. And who would have thought of doing that? Nobody.
And the culture's completely different, isn't it, over there? Particularly somewhere like Japan, it's to Ireland or the UK. When you were a kid, if you take it right back to that moment when you get into music and, the keyboard, I joked about the Casio keyboard. I think we found the keyboard, but I'll show it to you in a second. You wrote 1 million love songs. Was that the song that Nigel, I'm sure there was loads, but was that the one that he was like, there's something in this?
I think so, but the first time I ever met Nigel, he was advertised that he was making this group, and I actually said to him, "Listen, just so you know, I don't want to be in a group. Right. I don't want to be lugging drums and guitar amps upstairs." And he said, "No, it's not that type of group. It's like a vocal harmony group. That's what I want to make." And he played me a video of New Kids. And I kind of sat there and I thought, oh, that's interesting. I like harmony. I like doing harmonies and stuff like that. And I thought, okay, then let's give it a shot. And as I left his office that day, I gave him a cassette. And it was just songs that I'd written and recorded in my bedroom and stuff. And by the time I'd got from Manchester to home, which was about 40 minutes, he'd left 5 messages on the answer phone. Call me. As soon as you're home, call me. And I called him and he said, "Who's done this music? Who's written it?" I said, "Oh, I've written it." So, okay, who's written the words then? Me. Who's done the keyboards? Me. I've done it all. Come and see me again tomorrow. And that was it. It was so it wasn't one song. It was like, okay, there's something here. Yeah.
And was he managing anybody else at that point?
He had a very successful casting and model agency in Manchester. He was very well known as like a local businessman,
right?
And he dabbled in music because he loved music so much. And he'd had a hit with an artist called Damien who did the Time Warp, and it was like a top 5 record. So, and he'd had that little success and thought, I want more of that. Right. And so that was his only history at that point.
So when did he? And how did he convince you to go, right, let's meet the other lads, or we'll hold auditions? Because, like, for example, for Westlife, when I went to the audition, I remember Louis pulling me aside and saying, you've worked with Louis.
Yeah.
I want you in my next pub band. I want you in my next... And I thought he was saying, I want you in my next pub band. And I thought, oh no, I don't want to. My dad's been in a pub band. I don't want to be in a pub band. But he was saying pop band. So like, I was nearly turning him down at that point.
Wow.
But so when did you meet the boys?
So the next day I went back to see Nigel, he said, I'm going to flash some. He said, I'm going to build this around you now, because I imagined just getting 5 young guys and they'd sort of sing and dance a bit. But he said, I've got a songwriter here now. I'm going to build it around you.
Okay.
and so he said, right, I've got this guy who's already on TV. He's actually already got fan mail, and it was Jason. He was on The Hitman and Her at the time, which was like a TV show.
I remember the name of it anyway.
It was on at 2:30 in the morning, I think it started. It was for clubbers who just got home and wanted to watch telly. And he was a dancer on that, like not just a dancer, like a brilliant, like him and his friend on there. They had fans waiting for them stuff. He was a brilliant dancer.
Okay.
So he had him. Howard was a model on his books, and he was spraying cars at the time for a living. Mark was like a child.
I hope you remind Howard of that every other day.
We always remind him, yeah. Just before we go on every night. So he's the one playing golf, by the way. Yeah.
And if you need your car spraying, Howard.
He's out of practice nowadays, though, yeah, but he's still mad on cars. And Mark was like a child actor. He was like a 15, 16-year-old trying to get into Coronation Street and stuff like that. Sung a bit and played guitar a bit. And so that was it. They were the members he came to me with. So I thought, they look nice, you know. And I said, well, what about the rest? He said, I'm going to do nationwide auditions, and then we'll find out the rest. And here's the funny thing. The day before the actual audition, which I thought there was going to be hundreds of people at, he said, it's not quite right. 4, I think there should be 5. And I found this kid in Stoke, and I think he could be great. And it was Robbie. And he had this picture of Robbie, and I thought, I don't like the look of him. So, he looks a bit precocious. Anyway, I'll go along with it. Let's see who these other 100 are. Anyway, we turned up for the audition. Get ready for this. There's us 5, right? Gary, Robbie, Howard, Mark, Jason, and one other guy. One guy, right? And after about 20 minutes...
hang on, one of the guys, nobody turned up?
Mate, there was no one else coming. He decided, I'm just going to get this 6 in a room and check them out.
Right.
This is crazy, right? This is where it becomes almost freaky. This other guy, after about 20 minutes, Nigel goes over to him. And I could be imagining this, but I felt like he did this in my earshot. But he just said, you're not right for this band. I'm letting you go right now. And I thought, oh my God, this guy's like hardcore. This is the business here now, the music business. And it made me go, it almost made me fear him more, which I think was probably... I could be imagining this, by the way, but I felt like he did it, so I heard him. And this guy trundled off. Felt terrible for him. And that was the band. He said, welcome, everybody, you're the band. And that was it. That was it. That was Take That being put together.
Ever hear from that guy again?
Do you know what? He's turned up a couple of times, but every time he turns up, he's someone different. So we've never quite worked. Yeah. He's been on like Channel 5 documentaries, but it's like a different bloke each time.
And does he tell the same story?
He tells it's a weird one. Okay. Yeah, so we've never quite tracked down who he was after all these years. Yeah.
Gary, it was me.
It definitely wasn't you. Definitely wasn't you. Yeah.
So at that point, obviously you've no deal. You're not earning any money. Are you in the van? Promo.
So I was doing what your dad was doing. I was singing in clubs.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was singing a lot in clubs. I was doing every night of the week at that point.
All right.
And so I had a car.
See a few quid.
I had a phone.
Okay,
well. So I was
big time Charlie.
To the other lads, I was like already doing what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
None of the others had any money. They were barely working. But I was working every night. And
so were you like buying McDonald's on the road? You were feeding the lads. You were kind of helping out.
Well, at the start, it was me gigging and us sort of doing rehearsals in the day. And then once we started doing our own shows, I had to stop doing the gigs.
Right.
So it was
the money stopped as well.
Well, it's a tricky period that. But quite soon in, it was again, I don't know how Louis was, but Nigel always had this way of talking to us where... It was like it was already happened. Like you're already big.
Yeah.
You've already been. He had this thing
confidence and positivity.
Confidence was, and it made me feel better because I thought, God, it is going to happen. This, it definitely is going because he keeps telling us it is.
Yeah. And Louis has had the exact same.
And sure enough, it did.
Yeah.
And I found it so fascinating that that it could have gone wrong, but it didn't. And he always told us how it was going to be before it happened, which I found fascinating.
Were you then, all of you, I mean, we were in the early days in fear of Louis. Were you all in fear of Nigel? Yeah?
I think we still are in a funny way. I still get a bit of a thing when
it's like Stockholm syndrome, isn't it? It's like I
think so. I mean, we were. You know what? The one thing I will say and need to say is that he was the guy that plucked me out of a crowd.
Yeah,
it was him. It could have been someone else, but it wasn't. It was him, and I owe him that. Yeah, I always do. And you know, Robbie will tell you. Even the other guys will have a different view of Nigel. But my view is always that I owe him everything.
Okay.
I really do.
Okay.
He was the one who believed in me, and he was the one who, when, you know, the songs that I was writing weren't being hits and we were having to do cover versions to try and get on the cover of Smash It, he was the one who kept pushing my music. He was saying, you don't worry, they'll believe in you soon. And all these songs that they didn't like, they'll like once you're successful. And again, he was right, you know.
He believed in you. He
definitely 100%. Did.
I always joke that I was Louis' 6th favourite in Westlife, even though there was 5 of us. Who do you think was Take That's 6th favourite member for Nigel? Who was? I guess you were the golden boy. Let's be honest.
I think I was.
So who? In which order? What was the order?
I think Robbie was last. Yeah, okay. And he'll tell you he was last, right. But I think he was.
Okay.
You know, he was tricky, Robbie, in those. He was young,
right?
You know, he was a little offspring. You know, right. he was always the one making trouble.
Okay.
And being naughty and not showing up, not getting up in the morning. He was that kid, you know. So he was his least favourite, definitely. Right. But I think Howard was his second favourite.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because Howard's just. You've met Howard, haven't you?
Yeah, only twice.
I mean,
briefly at the X Factor, I think we performed together. We would Take That Westlife at one point or something.
You know what? It's funny. I'm doing a review here on everybody, but it's nothing I wouldn't say in front of anyone. Yeah. But I think over the years we've all changed a lot. You know, we've all got, you know, life and the success and all the rest of it has changed us. Howard's never changed. He is still, honestly, the guy I met in that audition. He's 100% authentic. He really, really is.
Seems chilled.
Very relaxed.
Yeah. Sprays a great car.
He loves cars. He's got his passions. He plays his golf.
Right.
You know, when he doesn't want to work, he don't work. He really it's life according to him, and I like that.
Yeah.
You know, and he is. He's the nicest bloke ever. So he was Nigel's favourite because he was just no trouble,
no hassle, right?
No hassle. Great fun, great to be with. Then probably Jason.
Okay.
Because Jason was a great fun as well. A little more edgy than Howard.
Right.
Got a little bit more bang for your buck.
Right.
You know, bit. You know, can disagree with you now and again. Have a good conversation and a good spar. And then again, Mark and Robbie, they were the young ones, so they were like the pups,
right?
You know, the troublemakers.
So when we kind of give it one of them,
oh God, here they are. Oh God, here they come.
Time to call this, boys.
Yeah. They were the troublemakers, them too.
It's uncanny when you describe it because
why are you Louis?
I don't know. It doesn't say it now. I've had this out with Louis.
But are you? What's the age group between you guys? Is there one?
Yeah. So I'm the oldest, but not by much. I was just turned 19 when we started, but Shane was 6 months younger than me.
Okay.
Then there was Keane, and then there was Brian, then Mark.
Okay.
But so Mark's the youngest. But only two. Like between me and Mark, there's like. 2 years, I think.
So there's 5 years between us.
Yeah, so that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a bit like the Backstreet Boys. There was a huge gap between Kevin and Nick.
Yeah.
Which caused, I think, a bit of... They were at different stages of their lives, weren't they?
Yeah.
Through the years. But when you mentioned Nigel there, I've said this to Louis, so again, nothing I wouldn't say out of this room. We used to do all the big gigs, say Point Depot or whatever, back in the day. And we'd have all our cars. This is when we'd made it. We'd made a few quid, so we had nice cars or whatever. And you know when you do a runner from stage, ears are out, sometimes in your outfit, into your cars.
Yeah.
Before the crowd even leaves the room. Yeah. So Louis would stand at the back door of the Point Depot and our cars would be turned, ready to go, keys in ignition, security would have all ready to go. And as we'd run out, I would be nearly forced out. One gone straight out the door. And as I would get to the door, Louis would stand there to give us all a high five and whatever. And he would literally, I'd stop for 10 seconds. Now, you, Gary, you know yourself. You've done an hour and a half on stage. You've broke your arse on stage. The crowd have loved it. You're gone home thinking you're the king of the world. And you get to your car and Louis goes, great show, absolutely great show. And I go, oh, thanks a lot, Louis. And he go, Shane was so fucking good. Shane was so good.
Oh, God. So Shane was
the lead singer. Shane, yeah, he was the Gary.
Me.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
Okay.
So Shane was so good, Nicky. Shane was so. Not that he wasn't so. He was fucking really good. He was brilliant, in fact. Right? But it was like every now and again you just want a little slap on the back to say. Yeah. Would you relate to any of that? I know you were the.
You know what? You should all sit in a room with us guys, and we'd probably be there for 3 or 4 hours. Right. I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because what we're really talking about here is like a family pyramid,
right?
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And the managers are kind of the dads. Yeah. And of course they're gonna be drawn to I don't know what it is. And luckily for me, I was the Shane for Nigel, definitely. Yeah. But yeah, that must be shit. That must be shit.
And you know, it's funny because I did watch an interview on you guys last night, and I think it was Howard. I don't know where it was, but I think it was Howard who said you'd 5 people, or maybe it was Robbie actually. You'd 5 people in that band with completely different experiences. Yeah. Yeah. And that actually resonated with me immediately because I was like, yeah, because there's a Gary, there's a Shane, there's you know, and everyone has their roles and different things, and everybody kind of wants to be liked, to be successful with the manager as well as publicly. Yeah. So it's a different, isn't it? Do you ever speak to the boys about that type of stuff?
Oh, we talk about it all the time, and the one thing we've tried to do is. As we come, like you had your break and we did too, and when we came back to it, the world we try and create around us is a world of equality where no one ever feels like they're playing second to anyone, and we definitely try and do that on the albums. You know, everyone gets their chance to write, everyone gets their lead vocal, and all the rest of it. And also nowadays, it's not so forced because we just do it automatically. Yeah, now we totally try and make room for others.
Gary, can I ask you a question on that? Because with Westlife, that had to be addressed on our reunion.
Right.
Did that? And I'm speaking to the lead singer here of Take That. But did the boys actually sit down and say, "We need to do more. We want to do more. Are you okay with us doing more?"
Well, do you know what I think though? If you're the person who takes up that amount of space, I think you need to be the one to offer, because to me that was a very important thing that as you come back to it as adults, not as kids from the 90s, is to go, listen, everyone, we should all be a part of this.
Right.
And that means you putting some more work in too, by the way. And it's about laying this is how much time I spend doing this, so this is how much time you need to spend doing it.
It doesn't happen by accident.
The hole is there if you want to fill it. And rather than be stuck in a corner being, we want more, you've got to be the one to offer it, I think.
Yeah, okay.
It's tricky, man. It really is. Yeah. Bands are tricky, and we meet so many bands who are wholeheartedly unhappy. And you know, I have to say that, you know, at this point, we've been a 3 now for 10 years. It is the happiest version of the band I've known.
Really?
Yeah, because we're all 50 now. It's like, you know, this is our hobby. This is the bit that we don't have to prove anything at this. We don't. We feel like we do, but we don't. Yeah. And so it's very relaxed. There's hopefully room for everyone. And these should be our golden years. The one thing nowadays that I actually fear more than anything else is that when the time comes, you know, and we all know when it's time to do it again, or the round, the album, the tour, and all the rest of it, is when someone doesn't want to, because we're at a point where if one of the 3 doesn't want to, we can't do it.
It could be Wham.
There's only one Wham, and you know it. And I dread that, you know, because it will happen at some point. Yeah. And like I say, I don't think we ever want to be in a position where we split up, say those words, but maybe people just need a year extra off than before or something. When
you led into that and you said, I dread what I dread the most, I thought you were going to say is the day the 5 comes back into all of us.
Oh, I think we'd love that.
Yeah, that'd be
I think
amazing.
We'd love that. We enjoyed that last time immensely. And the other thing is that we put a start and an end on it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That way no one's expecting anything. They all know you've got to get from A to B.
Right.
And it was good. It was really fun.
When you boys, I actually watched your the press conference, the splitting up press conference in full. I mean, we've all seen the clips, but I actually watched it for the first time in full. Do you remember that you said we may come back in 5 or 10 years? Do you remember you said that?
I don't remember much of that day, if I'm honest. I mean, those early years that we've both experienced, I felt like life was in fast forward.
Yeah.
It felt so quick, and it just felt like I wasn't watching or appreciating, or I was never there in the moment. I was always either planning or dreading or trying to navigate around something. It just felt like an assault course, those 90s years.
We always said we had to end it to appreciate it.
Right.
To bring it back.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah. I didn't realise you guys were away for 8 years.
Yes. Well,
you were away
maybe
for
10. 10, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's the scary part of coming back. And I remember, I think it was 06, we were a year into, we'd had a massive Raise Me Up. And the truth is, we were actually going to split up before you Raise Me Up. Right. We'd lost Brian, left in 04. We'd done 2 years or a year. And SwanMcG had this crazy idea to do a Rat Pack album and call it Allow Us to Be Frank. And we did that. Now, in fairness, the music was brilliant. Yeah. Steve Mack had done all the arrangements. It sounded phenomenal. Yeah. But it didn't sell like a Westside Pop album had sold. Or all of a sudden the tour suffered a little bit. And we thought, you know, we looked at you boys, we looked at Boyzone, we looked at other had gone before us and thought, well, lengthwise, we've done more years. Like, I think at that point we probably 8, 9 years, and we've done, like, it's time to go. And we took 4, 5, 6 months off. I went to New York. I did an acting course. I was nearly prepping for what I may do in the future. And we came back and Louis presented You Raise Me Up. And we heard You Raise Me Up and we thought, like, it's a gospel song. Like, it's a brilliant song. Josh Groban's had an amazing hit with it. Brian Kennedy in Ireland. You know, brilliant song. But how do we do this? Step up, Steve Mack. He turns it into a pop record. And from there, we were number 1 in Australia again. We were number 1 in the UK and Ireland again. Asia, and we got a record. We, like a footballer, we re-signed for another 3, 4 years albums. Yeah. You know, so that kind of prolonged, you know, that kind of the rest of that career.
And it's funny, isn't it? We've been talking about, you know, people and personal things, and I think that it's always important for me to sort of focus in on, forget band members and the amount of people in the band or whatever. It really, really always comes down to the music. Yeah. It just does. Yeah. It just does. It doesn't come down to likes or TikToks. It comes down really to the music. It's always going to. That's never going to change, that isn't. Yeah. And you've just
touched on it. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
You know, those moments where you have a Back for Good or a Patience, or what, they prolong your existence for over time. You know, it's something I've always taken it seriously, the music, but it's definitely now has to start there. If we don't have that, don't even book the studio. You know, if we've not got the right music to start recording with, and I just really believe in that. And we teamed over this, especially over the last few years. What we've done is we've actually spent the most time writing. Right. And the shortest time recording. Okay. We'll record the whole album in 2 weeks. Yeah. But we'll spend 18 months writing it. Yeah.
And it's tricky as well when you put everyone together to write a song, when you've got like all of you in the room, isn't it? Because we've tried it every way, way, with producers, without producers. Yeah. It's a nice mechanism when you're all together. Yeah. Sometimes it could be a pain in the arse as well. Yeah. And sometimes the best things can come from, you know, we have this thing where we'll go off for the first 6 months and write individually. Right. We'll have this big sort of meeting where we come back and we play all our stuff and we'll go, oh, that one, oh, that one's good. Yeah, and we'll finish it off together then. Yeah. But it's just about, just do it. Just keep making music always. It's so important to keep
stay fit. So it's like a muscle, songwriting.
Yeah.
And I think once you stop and have a year off or whatever, it takes me 2 or 3 months to get back to where I was. So I just keep going. Just keep writing.
During that time, that split, and then when you had a bit of downtime, solo career, and then some time off, did you have a load of songs on the A shelf that you went, I am giving these to nobody?
You know what? When I had those years of not doing it, I was not doing it because I basically, nobody was interested. I mean, I'd had a band member who'd gone stratospheric. And no matter
who was that?
So no. so we've talked about being in a band, but the big downside of being a band member is that you're only ever equating your success against someone else in that band. And when you've had someone who, like, everyone picked Robbie when we left, and it left us four with not just a little bit of what we had, nothing, complete, like, record label dropped, no publishing, nothing. It was like, it wasn't a choice to take 10 years off. It's like, I had nothing to do. So when you talk about, like, putting songs in drawers, I couldn't write songs for a few of those years. I spent years trying to get back to where I was. It was it was a building experience, that was, for me. It was a journey I went on in those years. So when I did come back to a point where I had a stage and an audience again to write those songs for, they'd been 10 years in the wait, a lot of those songs. So when they came out sounding so sort of guttural, no wonder. There was coming from all that hurt and pain,
During that time, did the rest of you speak to each other?
Yeah, we saw each other a bit. Not all the time, but, like, Howard was a good friend to me in those years. I can actually, if you get through life where you don't have to do this, you're very lucky. But I had a moment where I was like, I'm going to find out who my friends are here now. And you know what? I didn't have many. I can name about 5 people who actually stuck by me in those periods. Because remember, if you're someone who's had everything and now nobody's interested, then what's the point in knowing you if you're not going to gain something? And we all know who those people are. There's lots of them. And I ended up with about 5 numbers in my phone, and they were the people I hung on to through those years. And it's the people I hold on to most dearly now.
So I can picture, and I probably can relate more than most people who listen to this, right? To what we're all saying here, because we've shared similar experiences, and I'm sure both sets of fans will enjoy this conversation. But I wonder what Gary Barlow did every morning. Obviously get to breakfast, kids to school, the usual. But then how do you fulfill your day in those times?
Well, at the very worst of those times, trying to do what I used to do and not being able to, it was like a puzzle. It was like, wow, this piano, it didn't used to sound like this. It used to sound lovely and major and gorgeous, and the chords were, I couldn't even string chords. It was a weird time. Wow. Honestly, it was like a torment. I couldn't make music like I used to.
Did you ever seek help? Was that a thing back then?
It wasn't a thing.
It wasn't.
And it's a shame it wasn't, because actually the way out, I spent a year of sort of blaming myself, and then I sort of spent a year of blaming everyone else, and then I spent a year of, being down on all the new music because I thought it was rubbish, and then I spent a year.
Hope Westlife wasn't in that part, but anyway.
Do you know what? I don't remember it being, but I then spent a year of appreciating music again and falling back in love with music again. And then I got into fitness and started to run, and that makes you feel positive. And it's those things which you only have to go onto Instagram now, and you can find them. That's the way back to real life.
Yeah.
It took me ages,
but that wasn't there when you
wasn't there.
Yeah.
And so bit by bit, I put all the pieces back together. And what was really actually the telltale out of all of it was that when we got offered this documentary as a band again, and we all came back together, is that this funny band that I'd been in the 90s, which I didn't want to be in, Nigel had sort of talked me into it. It was kind of like the answer. the brotherhood was back. I needed them more than ever because I didn't have the confidence to sort of walk back into a room again. I needed everyone, and they needed me. And we were suddenly, this pyramid that you talked about, you know, me being at the top of it, we were all level. We were all on a level playing field, and it was the way it had to be.
Yeah.
And it needed to carry on like that as well to be successful. So it all righted itself, but it took years.
Yeah. Yeah, that documentary was pretty good.
Probably took you off on a trajectory you didn't want to go down.
No.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's really, really
it's
interesting,
isn't it?
Really interesting because, again, because I do picture the Gary Barlow, after Take That, with, you know, a lot of money. Let's say the king of the castle has his piano, and okay, the solo career hasn't happened, but I'm trying to picture how you can sit down in front of that piano and not be able to do it.
It was
having written
tormenting.
Back for Good 24 months before that, or 3 years before that.
And also being sort of 28 going, what am I going to do for the rest of the, you know, am I going to be a producer now? You know, I just wasn't.
And then Robbie's everywhere.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? It's funny. Funny now.
yeah, you can laugh now. Were you disappointed he didn't show up in that documentary? I know you've all made your friends now, your good mates now, but at the documentary, because I was on the edge of my seat.
So were we.
Did you really not know?
We didn't know.
Wow.
We didn't know. And we felt we were in an odd, we were talking about this before that shoot happened, like are we on Big Brother here? Is this where we are now? We're just the four waiting for the big star to arrive, and we know he's not going to come, you know. And so, but when we saw it played out, and it, you know, the whole story of it sort of worked for us more than for him.
Well, the victim, I think, always becomes the one that people almost sympathise with.
Yeah, and it was like, you know, and it wasn't us pulling those strings; it was the TV company, and so, you know, we sort of went along with it, but then, you know, what followed was this big wave of love for the music again, and that's when we sort of decided to go back on the road, and you know, it wasn't just like 2 nights somewhere; it was like 40 gigs or something. It was mental. So big, and
then it got bigger. Then you went into Wembley stadiums, and then you went into all the stadiums in the UK.
Well, you know, it's funny. We're on tour at the moment, and I think you learn your future when you're on tour, because you sort of realigning yourself with your audience again, learning what they like again, and it always is a springboard for me for new music. And so when I left those 40 gigs, which we did, I knew what the audience wanted. And I went off then to America and wrote Patience.
Right.
You know, we had all those songs, the next level of songs. I knew what was right, and I knew what the charts were doing, and where we could fit in, and all the rest of it. The sort of me from that was back.
Yeah.
You know, the mechanic, the guy that puts stuff together.
It just goes to show how important then your brain is, your head is. Really, confidence. You know, if you've got confidence and spend enough, I suppose, time and effort at something, it won't really pass you by.
I mean, I started playing the piano when I was 10. I did my first gig when I was 11. So all that stuff, all the training and the doing, it's there, it exists, it's in your system. But the brain, man, it controls everything. The mind. Yeah. The mind and the state of the mind, and why it's so important for us all to always look after what's going on in there. Oh my God.
I tell my kids that all the time. Yeah, you have to be in charge of your mind every day. No matter what thoughts flip into your head, you've got to be in charge of that. Now, you spoke of your piano. This is the good time to bring this up, because we found the piano. What age did you say?
I'm so impressed with the research.
Thank you.
I was about 9.
I haven't even looked at it, by the way.
I was about 9 when I got that keyboard.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about 9, isn't it? That's when. Don't say that's not yours. That's the elephant from the circus tour.
I think I got that when I was about 4.
Of course. I don't know if you're going to write Patience again on or how Back for Good.
I love these
or how
little
deep is your love. But there you go.
I love these little things.
Can you actually play that?
I guess now it's time for me to give up.
There it is.
There it is, something like that. The fingers are too big. Gorgeous.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. You can't keep it though if someone else owns it.
Kids that age.
No. My boys are 17 now, twins, and I have a girl who's Gia is 10.
Wow.
10 and a half. Yeah. So great ages actually. Lovely. Really good. How's Dawn and your kids? All
very good. Yeah, our oldest 24.
24.
We've only got one at home now. We have.
So what's that empty nest syndrome kind of like?
It's not looking good.
No.
Yeah. It's not looking good. It's yeah. I feel sorry for the mums always. The mums get it worse, I think. Oh, what's that?
I don't know. Maybe that's Robbie or Brian or somebody's trying to contact
the ghost of somebody's in there. Yeah, it's a funny one. It's the next chapter approaching quickly, I think.
So is there a party that thinks, well, that's more time to, you and me time with Dawn and, sunset and, wine in Portugal or France or somewhere?
Lovely. Yeah. That'd be lovely. Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah, she's promised with this tour anyway, she's going to do more and come out more and, and stuff. I've not seen her yet, but I know it's coming.
Surprise! Dawn, come on in. And your kids, are they into music at all?
Do you know what? They're more into sports.
Okay.
Yeah, both our kids have got a sports and conditioning degree. Our son did, and our daughter's doing midwifery in Sydney.
Wow.
So she lives miles away. Yeah. Okay. Our 15-year-old's into ballet and stuff, but not music.
Okay.
They love music, but they don't do it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to encourage them.
Yeah. Not well, I suppose the highs are high and the lows are lows, aren't they really? So
you know what? There's times the times I wish they'd enjoy music is when I sit on a Sunday and I just play the piano for 2 hours for fun. Because that to me is relaxing and fun.
Yeah.
That's the bit of music which is special.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to ask you about your dad. Only because my dad died of a heart attack quite suddenly. I was on a plane leaving Dublin when I got the call.
Right.
Your dad also died of a heart attack.
Very suddenly. Yeah.
How was that? Can you remember where you were?
I can, of course. Yeah, I was in London when my mum called me, and I drove straight home. But it's a big one for a son.
Yeah.
A dad.
I don't think I've ever gotten over that.
And how old were you?
I was 30.
30. Oh,
yeah. In fact, it was a month. It was 2009. I think it was a month or 6 weeks between.
My goodness, it was.
My dad and your dad.
Well, my dad was only 71.
My dad was 60.
So really robbed.
Both of them.
Yeah.
But was he a big supporter? Was he proud of?
Definitely.
Gary Barlow, yeah.
Definitely. Mum and dad were a great childhood. I had. Very encouraged. They weren't rich, but we had a good time, and they both worked. So we had the colour telly in the street while everyone else had a black and white.
Okay.
So they worked hard, and they instilled that into us that if you're going to do this, you work hard. And my brother's builder, so he did what my dad. My dad was like a hard farm worker.
Did he sing?
And no, definitely not. But they loved music, and they spent years, I think of this a lot. They spent years driving me round to gigs. Like they never had a Saturday night to themselves because they were driving me somewhere.
Okay.
And I'm forever indebted to my mum and dad. My mum still comes and enjoys the shows, and it's just great, isn't it?
Yeah.
I always think it's great for everyone else when you're on tour because it's just good times every night.
We had that real family vibe where our parents would get on with the other parents, brothers and sisters. So the backstage area of the Westlife show, I imagine similar to you guys, there was a vibe. We'd be on stage, we'd all be back afterwards, and there was some of the things that obviously the public don't get to see, but there's some of the best memories.
Definitely. And it's the same with the Take That Mums, actually. They all know each other. They all talk all the time. But sons and dads is quite a big one.
Did that hit you hard? Yeah,
definitely. You've got sons as well, and it really it's still nowadays when my son goes, should we go out tonight? I'm thinking, but I've got to. No, I'll go out.
Yeah,
tonight.
Okay,
I'll
you don't want to miss that.
Definitely.
I guess I always had this dream of buying a season ticket at Old Trafford. When Westlife would slow down a little bit, we'd have more time because, like you, we were never home. Yeah. And I thought, wouldn't that be nice? I'll take my dad every Friday. We'll fly over from Dublin, and we never. Even though I've been in Old Trafford with him, I never got to do that. Yeah, a little bit of, I suppose, times he missed out on that respect. Yes, but he was very proud. I lived his dream. Yeah, played the stadiums, did everything that I guess he was a painter and decorator by trade, but a singer at
and he'd have loved seeing that.
Yeah.
So at least he got to see it.
Yeah. How's the tour going at the moment?
It's going pretty well. We're only 6 in or 7 in.
Okay.
I think we've got 67 to go this year.
Wow.
So it's a long one. It's a long one. We've had longer, we've had shorter. We're somewhere in the middle.
Right, okay. But it's been a few years, so you've obviously...
It's been 5 years since we toured as a band. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're all very happy, loving the gigs. We're playing quite a few actually from this new record we did last year. Probably more than people want, to be honest, but who cares?
Yeah.
No, we're having fun. We really are having fun.
Okay. Right, let's wrap it up. I always do this with guests. I want you to put together a boy band, Gary.
Okay. Definitely Shane.
Anybody?
He's so good. Such a great singer.
He's so fucking great. He's so great. And he is great. He is.
He is great.
Right. Anyone in the world. You have to give us 5 because inevitably someone's going to leave.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyone. Now, it could be Michael Jackson. It could be Elvis Presley.
Sure.
It could be you. It could be Shane. It could be me. It could be Robbie. It could be Justin Timberlake. Go.
Yeah. Okay, so got to pick 5.
Yep.
So am I in that 5?
You can put yourself in.
Yeah.
Why would you not?
Got to be in there.
Listen.
Yeah.
You're the Shane.
Yeah, exactly. Nigel said.
And Louis.
And Louis. Yeah. I'm going to go Chris Martin.
Oh, yes.
Because we like Chris.
Okay.
Great
Right,
talent.
write this down. Chris
great
Martin.
talent. You know, I went to see some friends of yours recently, and I've never ever seen them live. You'd be embarrassed to know, but I went to see U2 at the Sphere.
Okay.
And I loved Edge. Oh my God, I spent all night just watching
Really?
him.
And have you seen them or met them or beforehand?
I've probably met them a few times,
Right.
but you know, the sort of meeting where it doesn't matter sort of thing.
It's the pop star, rock star meeting. It's the hug and the...
Bono was singing, like his voice, I think it's the best it's ever been. I think of things like the tuning and amazing, just brilliant. So I'm going to have Edge in that band as well. We've got Chris.
You're not going to go Bono. You're going to go Edge.
I'm going to go Edge.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I'm sure Edge has heard Bono was so great tonight from his manager. Wasn't Bono amazing?
Larry, obviously Paul McGuinness, wasn't it?
Paul McGuinness
back in the day. Yeah. Okay, so we've got Edge, Chris Martin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm going to go that lovely lad from the 75s who we met recently, Matty. I think he's great.
Okay.
Great. Real charismatic.
Right.
I think he'd be good.
Okay. I like the way you're doing this, buddy, because everyone usually just rallies off the first 5, Take That, Boys on, Westlife, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys. But you're really thinking this out.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm thinking of people like, if they were in here now, we'd like write a tune together.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It'd be great fun.
It's good to know we're not actually putting a band together, but I like the way you're thinking.
And I'm going to go Mark Ronson because he'll really help us with then the recording, producing. He's also a great character, lovely guy as well. So we're on to 4.
Right, we're on to 4. Now we definitely need 5 because we want to leave and we need a name.
I don't want too much competition out front here. So I'm going to...
it's you. You're in there.
Yeah, I'm in
well, then we have 5.
Is that 5?
Yeah. Okay. Well, including you. So we got Gary Barlow, Mark Ronson, Matty, Edge, Chris Martin.
That's it.
That's it.
What a band.
Is that the name? That's it.
a great TV show.
That's it. I like that. Take that. That's it.
Yeah, there you go. Lovely. Imagine that for a jam session.
That'd be unbelievable. I think you're going to have competition with Chris Martin. You and him feel like you're very similar.
Yeah. Yeah, if you go online, you'll see a picture of Chris put his own little boy band together. It was me, him, Bono, and Killers, Brandon.
Right.
And we had a little rehearsal backstage, and it was a bit of jostling.
Okay.
Getting to the front, and Bono won.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
And as I came off, my manager said, wasn't Bono great?
Was he?
Do you know what? I know how it feels now.
Do you know what? And you lead singers, you don't even know what it's like not to be there. You don't know what it's like not to get the little high five.
I know.
You should.
Am I meant to feel guilty?
No, you're not. You're not.
Because we just have to shine our lights as bright as possible, right?
That's it. Oh, Gary, brilliant. Listen, thank you so much.
It's been lovely.
It's been
really
brilliant.
as I knew it would be.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good luck with the show.
Thank you. It'll be launching soon. So
amazing. Good luck.
Gary Barlow, everybody. Thank you very much.
Good luck. Great.